Growing up as an immigrant kid is a story also about, like, I've been doing a few interviews over the last couple of days, and everyone's been like focused on the addiction part of this book, which makes me wonder about what people are hiding in their lives. You know, like everybody is like focused on, you know, like kind of the addiction to gambling, addiction to alcohol, but also people have been fascinated by the story of growing up Korean American, which is a really big deal, you know. And if it's a big deal if you are an Asian American in this country, because anyone who does grow up or did grow up in the last 30, 40 years, and even right now, you know, we had to live double lives in many ways. A lot of our experiences, we lived in homes where English was not the first language. We lived in homes where parents didn't grow up in this country. We lived in homes with a culture and a set of standards and rules that didn't match with the American school system and social structures within America. And then we lived mostly with food that didn't look like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so that intersection was always a difficult thing to really confront growing up as a young kid, because not only did you have the pressures of regular life and pimples and puberty and all that stuff, but then on top of that you have this double life where it is really hard to express what you're going through, and then in many cases you don't have any heroes to look up to, you know, and you don't have any role models or any kind of like people out there with a voice that you can connect to, that understand what you're going through. So this book is an homage to that, but it's also a very personal book about my family. And growing up as a kid, within all of those pressures, I struggled. I struggled trying to meet those expectations and trying to evolve and succeed within that. And then so I found a lot of vices. To be honest, I got into a lot of drugs, a lot of fights. I got into the worst of it all was gambling. And gambling took me down to a place that, you know, might be worse than death. To be honest, it erodes everything about who you are and all of the relationships around you. And then but the beautiful thing about growing up Asian American is, no matter how deep or destitute you become, your family always exists right there. So even though I was at the darkest point, my family was still there. And then I found cooking. So, but where we're going to lead in this chapter is I went to the CIA. So I hit the rock bottom. I came up, and then I decided to move out here to New York. So being here in New York, we decided to pick this chapter in New York to read about. But so I entered culinary school, and the CIA is kind of like it's kind of like Hogwarts. You know, like you go to this. I'm serious. It's like you go to this spot, and like everyone is there for the same reason, and you're all kind of like misfits. You're all kind of like people that don't fit in anywhere else, and you've come there with this, in your mind, this special gift or this special reason to exist, and then you're given these uniforms, and you're shuffled around through classes, and then you're given weapons. You know, you're given knives, and you're given like, so those knives become like magic wands, and then so it's all like interconnected. And so I went through that. You know, I'm skipping through a lot, but I went through that, and then what happens is, in the CIA you get an externship, which is like the biggest freaking deal for any student, and so it's a very competitive thing to get your externship, especially if you're staying in New York, and especially during the mid and late 90s. And this was before really like where we are now with the food space, with the Food Network, and everyone being interested in food, before blogging, food blogging, before, you know, IG and Twitter and all this stuff. You know, it was before this form of sharing. And so it was this really like tight micro world, and you know, your externship was everything. It was your badge of honor where you had to go. And Manhattan was really a really competitive place to get it. So, for example, if you got your externship at Danielle, or you got your externship at that time, like Gotham Bar and Grill or Gramercy Tavern, you know, those were badges of honor. So, we were going out. All my friends were getting their externships, and everyone was like knocking it out of the park. Boom, 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 boom. You know, getting their spots. I really couldn't get mine, and then I was on my last resume, and I was walking down 51st Street here to the 6th train because I was staying up on 96. I was about to take the 6th train home, and then this happened. Oops. Then for some reason, I looked up, and right into a restaurant kitchen window. Looking out that window was a chef. It was